Okay, my name is Toa Tawa. I'm from New Zealand. I'm of Maori descent and have only lived here in the United States for about 15 years. Um, but I'm happy to talk a little bit about my memories of bread in my family and how it was made and its significance. My grandmother really was the baker in our family, and my mother learned from my grandmother how to bake bread. And one type of bread that my grandmother used to cook often was paki bread, which is just a unleavened bread that is flat. And what my grandmother would do is she would never use any measuring measuring implements. What she would do was weigh the flour in her hand, and was usually, if I remember rightly, about 4 to 5 handfuls. She was always suspicious of using sort of European utensils. For some reason, she felt that they would sort of ruin her bread, and so she never ever used measuring utensils. Um, Later on, my mother, she didn't use measuring utensils either, but not so much out of suspicion, but simply out of respect for my grandmother, since this is something that's handed down from generation to generation. You don't want to jinx the process, I guess, so she just did the same thing. And so she would scoop out the flour into a bowl, and then she would use her hand also to gather water and put that into the bowl. Everything was done with her hands. She never used spoons or a whisk or anything. She would just use her hand as the whisk and as the cup. And so she would judge the consistency and texture of the bread simply by feel alone. Feeling it drip down the corners of your mouth, it was just delicious. I've tried to make it myself, but it's just been a terrible disaster and have ended up feeding it to the dogs. But anyway, that's my story of paki bread.